Okay, good afternoon once again, and in continuation of our next topic, which is the establishment of a mango orchard. So we have underbrushing, cultivation, and harrowing. So if the area has not been planted to any agricultural crops, you can cut trees, shrubs, clearing, or remove stones, stumps, and other this should be done, and uprooting of grasses to clear the area from which is also very recommended. And also single plowing and two harrowings are necessary for previously cultivated areas. And land preparation should be done during summer to minimize growth of weeds and facilitate plowing and harrowing activities. Next is to establish a mango orchard, you have also to do holing. And the best time to dig holes is during summer as well, when the soil is fertile. 1 by 1 feet hole can be excavated in the field. If the soil is hard, rocky, and infertile, larger holes of about 0.5 by 0.5 meter is recommended. So 1/4 of the area should be filled up with organic matter to provide nutrients for newly planted growths. So for the design ng planting, commercial plantings for mango should follow certain designs for ease of implementing the cultural requirements of trees and to estimate the number of trees needed per hectare. So, for example, we have squares system. A tree is planted at each corner of the square, while in a triangle, trees are set in the corners of the triangle, equidistant to each other. So, 15% more trees per hectare can be accommodated with triangular design. On the other hand, we also have quincunx. A filler tree is planted in the middle of the square to maximize space. Hence, the number of trees per hectare is increased. And the square design is commonly used in many orchards. So, however, as the mango grows older, up to 20 years old, it might need pruning or cutting of some trees to accommodate more sun infiltration of sunlight. So the recommended spacing for Karabaw mango, which is the main objective of the layout, is to space the trees at suitable distances in order to allow ample space for development. It also permits intercultural operation and easy passage of light to discourage pests and diseases, especially anthracnose. In poor soil, the tree makes thrifty growth and stand closer spacing. On the other hand, in fertile soil, the tree makes luscious growth and produce overlapping canopies within few years. Wider spacing is necessary, as I just have said. So another important factor that influences tree spacing is the growth characteristics of the Karabaw mango. It's considered fast grower, and it can attain a canopy spread of 4.5 meter after 3 years. Therefore, closer spacing for this variety should be discouraged to avoid overcrowding, which can affect yield and fruit quality later on. So, but if intercropping is desired, it is best to have wider spacing to accommodate growth of cereals, vegetables, and short maturing fruit crops like the guava, cashew, papaya, pineapple, and jackfruit. So the spacing for Karabaw mango are 10 by 10 for 100 meters per 100 trees per hectare, or 12 by 12 for 70 trees, 14 by 14 for 51 trees, 16 by 16 for 39 trees, 20 by 20. That's the most ideal, which is only 25 trees. So however, recommended that Karabaw mango should be planted at least 14 by 14 meters. So we can use with high density planting, close density planting, which is practiced in Australia, Israel, Mexico, and India. And this technology is successful, attributed to the variety whose growth characteristic is non-spreading and responsive to pruning. For Karabaw mango, however, close density planting can pose problem because the tree grows fast and overcrowding is easily attained as early as 6 to 8 years after planting. So mango flowers and fruit clusters are born in the periphery of the canopy and need to be exposed to sunlight. So trees with crowded and overlapping branches do not produce as many flowering tips as compared to those exposed to light. And overcrowding also creates conditions favorable for the growth and multiplication of pests, particularly yung mga hoppers and anthracnose. So high density planting at 5 by 5 meter for 400 trees is used for Scion Grove establishment. So for the layout, In the flat and slightly rolling areas, layout should be done after land preparation and preferably in summer. So we have materials here needed are triangular wooden frame about 1 by 1 by 1.5 meter, 3 pieces nylon cords, 100 meter each, meter sticks, 6 pieces bamboo poles of 4 meter, 100 piece bamboo sticks, 2 feet, and markers, then called strings. So these are the steps involved in the field layout. Now, first you have to set triangular frame in one corner of the field using 100 meter nylon cord and extend one arm of the triangle westward and with the other cord, and do the same for the second arm southward. Stretch the cord from straight lines and fix both hands around the bamboo poles forming a big triangle. So this will serve as the reference or point base for the layout. And with the nylon cord, measure and mark the required distance using colored strips. Both ends of the cord should be also stretched and tied bamboo posts. And move the marked cord inside the big triangle using recommended distance of planting and set cord to parallel base, westward extension of the triangle frame. So fix the ends of the cord on the ground with the bamboo post. Identify these marks in the field by placing bamboo sticks or staking. And transfer the cord and measures the same distance for the next line na naman. And repeat this procedure until the whole area is laid out. So actually it is just measuring really, no, so you will have proper distance and you will later see that your trees are actually in line, no, and it's nice to see that the whole area is occupied equidistantly. But for high sloping areas, contour layout is practiced, no, in areas with highly sloping lands. So stakes are placed perpendicular to the slope, so you should not it should be along the slope and fixed in the center of the slope to provide straight line drawn from the bottom to top. So this will be accomplished by stretching the nylon cord from the highest to lowest parts and locating the position of the grafts along the mark points of the cord. So actually planting is done from below sa doon sa and to the top of the slope. So plant orientation can also be guided with the use of an A-frame. So yung A-frame, you can use this para malaman mo kung saan yung kanyang center. And to assure high percentage of plant recovery, planting should be planned at the start of mga rainy seasons when water supply is enough and considered appropriate planting. So now you were done with your layout. The things that you need to do for cultural practices or caring for your mango trees are the following. First, fertilization. It is important that grafts should get established in the field prior to fertilizer application. Soil and tissue analysis is recommended to determine the needed fertilizer for the crop. And if you cannot at all costs, fertilization recommendation for 2 to 3 months after field planting could be done before in split application at the end of the rainy season. So one practical guide for fertilizer application is the development of young shoots 6 to 8 weeks after transplanting. The following are suggested fertilizer requirements for non-bearing trees. So for 1 year old, you use 100 grams urea, split application start and the end of the rainy season, or 200 grams manure plus 100 grams urea. So this should be placed few inches from the trunk in a shallow canal constructed around. So around the canopy. And for 2 years old, 200 grams naman ng urea split application or 500 grams of manure plus 200 grams urea. And for 3 years old, 300 grams triple 14 split application or 1 to 2 kilogram manure at plus 300 grams triple 14. And in 4 years old, 400 to 500 grams naman and 2 to 3 kilograms of with 400 to 500 urea. So another practice aside from fertilization is irrigation. So death of the young trees in the field is usually attributed to the lack of water, particularly during dry months on the month of December to April. So manual irrigation can be done using water sprinkler, so recommended weekly, and to irrigate 2 to 4 liters of water to saturate the soil. And this should be done continuously for the second and third years of growth until trees have established in the field. And however, in a large plantation, irrigation system like the sprinkle and drip is recommended. Another practice is intercropping. So the available space between mango trees can be made productive while waiting for the trees to bear fruit. So this will provide additional income to grower, but also keep the area free from weeds and improve fertility of the soil. So we have several short maturing interfillers such as citrus, papaya, pineapple, guava, cashew, or jackfruit and citrus can be recommended as intercrops. And uh, but you choose the which are easily adapted in the area, which only requires less management and with high market demand. So in cases where intercrop competes with the main crop for nutrition, water space, this should be removed and avoid intercrops which are alternate hosts also of the insect pests and diseases. So another also is weed control. So it's not only problem of annual crops but also perennials like mangoes. So they compete for food, water, and serve as alternate hosts for insects and diseases as well. So frequent burning of mango orchards, especially during summer months, is also caused by dry weeds, which accidentally catch fire. So ring weeding is recommended for young and backyard trees, done by scraping or hewing the weeds around the base of the trunk, and an area about 1 meter radius above should be maintained weed-free. For large areas in orchard plantation, interrow cultivation using a tractor is necessary. However, caution must be observed that the disc or mold where plowed does not damage the roots of the trees. And soil erosion during cultivation should also be considered. So you can also have cover cropping like leguminous and creeping crops like the tropical kudso and centrosema to suppress the growth of the weeds around the area. And these plants intercepts light, minimizing the heat which accumulates in the soil, and in addition to this, crops suppress growth of weeds due to their creeping behavior. And when fully matured, these are plowed and incorporated in the soil as green manure to improve its soil fertility naman. And so leguminous crops also provide food and habitat for insect pollinators like the spider, praying mantis, and wasps. So at present, there are non-selective herbicides also like glyphosate that you can use to replace laborious and expensive weeding procedures. So however, avoid spray contact with many parts of the tree during application since this can result to burning and death of the trees. And lastly, we have insect and disease control. So insects and diseases damage young trees in the field and attacks the leaves, branches, and root system and are prevalent during the dry season. So diseases, on the other hand, are rampant during rainy season and they destroy the leaves and roots of young trees. So we have scale insects or Anoidea orientalis, Cucus viridis, Aspidituus destructor, Phenocapsis indi, and Hemibrisa palmae. So these are small scale like insects usually found sa mga hiding underneath the leaves or branches of the tree. So both adults and nymphs destroy the plant by sucking the vital stuff, resulting to the drying and falling of the leaves. So these are very abundant during summer and can cause high mortality of young crops. So as plant sacs, scales also excrete this sticky fluid called honeydew, which serves as an excellent medium naman for the development ng fungus or sooty molds. Then later mag-blacken siya and will affect the photosynthetic activity of the plant. So in addition, while feeding, scale insect inject toxic substances in the tissues, resulting in the galling of the branches. So affected parts enlarge and resulted to galling, which may not recover, no? And so for the control of these scale insects, particularly the armored group, it's very difficult, but it can be controlled with insecticides because their bodies are covered with waxes. So when contact insecticides are used, stickers are necessary. So insecticides with systemic activity is preferred. During heavy infestation, pruning of affected parts should be done also, followed by spray application of insecticides, and fertilize, water the plants to stimulate new growth when infestation is minimal, and brushing them off with soap and water will minimize the problem in the field. So spray plant oil as a mixture of plant oil and insecticides. So this chemical is effective for scale insect control. So next we have also, let me just for this control, flower, yes. So next we will also have integrated pest management, no, later on after this. So Again, to continue, we have the tip borer or Clementia transversa. So the adult moth starts lay eggs when flushes are present and the eggs hatch to small larvae which bore in the shoots and stems feeding the vascular bundles. So since water and food are prevented from growing up to the plant tip due to the destruction of food bundles, the topmost portion of the plant will die and desiccated small pinkish larvae are found inside. And to control this, if infestation is minimal, prune the damaged part and bury them. And during severe infestation, use systemic contact insecticides and spray regularly to protect flushes. So another insect is the mango twig cat borer or the Niphonelia albata, Newman, and Capito pasco. The adult cuts or girdles the branch twig. This is done by nipping the branch halfway, then turning around to make another cut as just deep as but slightly slower than the first cut. And affected parts fail to transport nutrients and water, causing the terminal leaves to dry up. And dried leaves on the tree canopy are common sign of twig cutter infestation. So to control this twig, adults are attracted to young leaves or flushes for egg laying. So to prevent or minimize damage, spray the whole canopy with insecticide and repeat application after a month, and prune damaged twigs and branches. It is advisable to prune in summer also to minimize occurrence of disease which may later enter the cupcakes, and infested parts should be burned to kill the larvae inside. And next we have circular white-back borer or Calimetupus species, a longhorned beetle, and has very similar habits to the twig cutter borer. So the adult scrapes the bark of the young trees, causing death of terminal parts. So the insect is easily identified by circular white mark of the back of its body. And like the twig cutter, adults are attracted to young leaves, so insecticide recommended for twig cutter infestation can also be used to protect trees from circular whiteback borer infestation, and prune affected parts and burn them. Next, we have the corn silk beetle, or Monolepta bifasciata. So these adults are small yellowish beetles and are voracious leaf feeders. And newly formed leaves or flushes are very attractive to insects. So infested leaves should show holes, and under severe attack, the entire leaf is destroyed. So damaged leaves are also easily infected by anthracnose or a fungal disease. So to control, timely application of insecticide during flushing, and use any contact insecticide recommended for mango. We also have grubs or Lycopholis irorata and termites, macrothermi species. So the insect feeds on the roots and stems of the tree. Under heavy infestation, grafted plants will die. And to control this, granule insecticides such as Furadan 50 grams per tree applied as soil drainage will kill the insects and the soil, while contact insecticides are necessary for those found on the trunk and branches. It is important to expose the adults prior to application of contact insecticides by destroying earthen tunnels, and eggs of grubs can be prevented from hatching organic matter before applying them as fertilizer. And we also have thrips or Certu thrips species. These are small insects and new pest problem during flushing. Leaves affected result to drying and burning symptom is prevalent. So to control them, spray contact insecticide, particularly underneath the leaf surface where the insect stays. And we also have the very difficult to control anthracnose Coleotetrachum glosporoides is the most common disease ng mango, which is prevalent during rainy months naman, and leaves are easily susceptible to the disease, especially the flushes. And the common symptoms are of course black pin-sized lesion which coalesce to form bigger spots, and these spots produce a shut hole appearance on the leaves, and affected leaves dry and fall to the ground prematurely. And to control anthracnose can be controlled by pruning the affected parts and spraying with recommended fungicide, especially during rainy season. To avoid wetting of leaves during irrigation, direct water only to the roots. So we also have other practices like early pruning, no? And formative pruning is done to reduce the height of the trees. This is usually done with the tree when the tree is about 1 meter tall and the terminal portion are cut pinched to encourage lateral branching, or 3 to 4 branches are allowed to grow, and then second cutting or pruning of terminal portion is done until the branches are evenly distributed. So for established young trees, mga 3 to 4 years old, at least 3 meter tall, ang early pruning is not practiced. So the tree is center pruned to control height and for proper development of lateral branching. This will allow sunlight penetration, air circulation, and facilitate spraying, bagging, and harvesting operations. So pruning is suggested to be done during dry season. And we also have the blossoming. The removal of flowers which develop on young trees should be practiced as it happens as early as the first year of growth ng grafted mango. So the presence of flowers will require nutrients supposed to be channeled for the vegetative growth of the plant as early as the first year of grafted mango. So hence, early flowering can affect development of trees resulting to stunted growth. So if you can notice, meron tayong mga maliliit pa lang na mga mango trees na nagfa-flower na because they are grafted. So that really happens naturally. So we have to deblossom them kasi masyadong madami than the kaya lang ng tree. So we have here caring for trees, no? And also mga deficiency caring for trees, and also mga pest control and IPM management strategies. So we will have this by next session, no? And thank you for watching this posted video, and I will see you later again for the next video in continuation. So for questions and clarification, just post questions on our Facebook group.